Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie and this is all about my life after gastric bypass surgery. And if you can believe it, this is my 14-month post-op update. I have a small cat that is demanding my attention this morning. She is probably going to be in and out of frame the whole time. Every once in a while she gets super needy, don't we all? I can't believe February is already over. It seems like February just went by really fast, so I can't believe I'm already doing another monthly update video. But that being said, so much happened in February, so I'm actually pretty excited to film this video today because I just feel like I have so much to tell you, and I get so excited post-op, even, you know, at 14 months, that I still feel like I have all these different things to talk about and all these different things that are happening. So I'm really excited to get into it. Just first, a couple housekeeping items. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much. For those of you who keep subscribing and keep coming back to the videos, I keep pumping them out. So, so as long as we have this back and forth, it works for me. If you're not yet a subscriber, I just ask that at the end of this video, if you do like this content and you like the kind of things that I'm trying to put out there, that you just subscribe if you'd like to show your support and ring the little notification bell so you get notified every time a video of mine goes live. I'm going to go ahead and jump into the stats first just to get them out of the way. My highest recorded weight was 383.3 pounds, and I started this whole process at 374 pounds. My surgery weight was 344, and last month I weighed in at 208.4 pounds, and this month I weighed in at 206.4 pounds. So that's a total loss of 2 pounds in the month of February, and pretty common for the last few months around here. I have not been losing nearly as fast. That being said, if you are not new around here, you know that I am putting way less emphasis this year on my weight loss and much more on non-scale victories and measurements. I'm still pleased that I'm losing weight. I am going to try to buckle down a little bit more. I know that I've said that I don't really want to rely on the scale, and I don't really want to rely on, you know, just my weight as a big factor in my life anymore. There's a couple of things that have changed. One is that since I'm engaged now, I'm actually looking at a wedding on the horizon. So, you know, as much as I want to say that the scale doesn't matter to me, I do want to lose a little bit more weight before the wedding. I just want to, at the very least, get to under 200 pounds, which has been just sort of a little goal kind of floating out here. It hasn't been, you know, the most important, just because I try not to put so much important on almost arbitrary numbers, but it is something that I would really like to get to, and I'm only about 6 pounds away from that. So I'd like to kind of get to that a little bit sooner and just feel like I am in the home stretch, so to speak. I don't really know where I'm gonna land long term. I do know that I have more weight to lose. I'm happy plugging along at the rate that I am, but I just like to kind of feel like I'm trying a little bit harder at it again. I've been doing an amazing job for me at eating everything that I want to in moderation and having a very healthy relationship with food. And that is the most important to me, so I don't want to ruin that in any way. But I also know that I've been kind of a little bit loose in things that I wouldn't normally eat if I'm trying to watch my weight. So I'm trying to find this balance where I exist between having a very healthy, normal relationship with food and not necessarily restricting myself from things, but also not eating Doritos just because I know I can have a few Doritos and it's not going to, you know, throw me off or throw me into a tailspin of self-despair. So, you know, I want to find that balance. And so I feel like reassessing every couple of months, I reassess, what am I eating? How is it working for me? How is it making me feel? And although, you know, eating a couple of those things is working well for me, at least in terms of my mentality and my relationship with food, it's obviously not really working amazingly well for my weight loss, just because that's slowed down so much. I don't believe in complete elimination of foods. I just don't believe that. So, you know, being a little bit more careful with how often I buy certain snacks and things like that, and upping my exercise again. I think that'll put me in a place where I feel better. And that's the big thing too, is kind of going off of how I feel, not just what my weight is. I also took my measurements again. So I'm learning now that I don't think I'm very good or very consistent at taking my measurements. I'm trying to, every time I do it, remember exactly how I did it the last time and be a little bit more careful. But my numbers do show that I lost some inches in my biceps and my thighs. So I am seeing some progress there. If you compare the two numbers, it's like a 1/2 of an inch difference on my waist. And I think that really could be from measuring. So the way that I'm seeing any of the gains in measurements, they are so small that I think it's just a measuring issue. And so it's essentially staying the same in my book. So I am losing a couple inches around thighs and biceps, and I'm just happy to see results. I'm just happy every time, you know, in a month that I am losing a few pounds, and I'm happy that I'm losing a couple of inches here and there. It just shows progress. And honestly, that's the best I can really ask for at this point, is to feel like you're not having to break your back to get progress. I have worked so hard at weight loss my whole life. And with this process, it is still working, and it's still very difficult to do, but it's in a totally different way. And I think I'm still coming to terms with the fact that I'm not working in the same way that I was in the past. And so that might be one of those reasons why I feel like every couple of months I need to reassess and see, you know, how am I doing with this, and am I working hard enough? Just because, you know, that's so ingrained in you, and that's something that I dealt with for so many years that I think it's important to just remember that's the background I'm coming from. And obviously this is still working. It's not really fast, but does it have to be? So I have a ton of things that happened in February that are non-scale victories and were super exciting, but there is one thing that is, I don't want to say worrisome, but something I'm keeping my eye on, and I do want to introduce that concept because it was new to me, and it's something that can definitely happen after surgery. So I have experienced a handful of times now either a hypoglycemic, low blood sugar kind of episode, or a late stage dumping. And I'm not sure which one it is because they're very similar in terms of symptoms. Most likely it's a late stage dumping. That's a possibility that could have happened at any point, but for some reason I didn't experience it until this point after surgery. We've talked a little bit about dumping before on the channel. Because I had bypass, dumping is a higher possibility for me, especially with sugary items. But I've never really experienced late stage dumping, and the late dumping is something that happens 1 to 3 hours after you eat something. And that, a lot of times people experience something that's a lot more similar to like a low blood sugar episode, where you're feeling kind of faint and funky in the head, and maybe your heart rate goes up. If you've never experienced what low blood sugar feels like, my brain gets a little bit foggy. I just feel a little bit faint, and it feels a little bit different than, you know, like the immediate dumping that I get from something. If that happens, which happens very rarely these days, I get a really fast heart rate. I can feel that going pretty fast, and I feel like not quite right. I usually feel like I need to lay down, and I just don't feel very good in general. A little bit of nausea sometimes, depending on what is making me dump. But the late stage dumping is just kind of like feeling kind of faint, and not necessarily like I'm about to pass out, although I know some people have experienced that when it comes to like a low blood sugar episode, and they've actually passed out. But for me, so far, I've just felt like not quite right in the head and felt a little bit faint. The problem with an episode like that is that typically the way to knock yourself out of a low blood sugar episode is to actually eat some sugar. So if you're eating sugar, drinking juice is pretty common. That will kind of knock you out of it. The problem with that is that you can get yourself into a bit of a cycle where you are getting low blood sugar and eating something sweet in order to knock yourself out of it, but then maybe an hour or two later, you're kind of getting knocked back into it because of what you ate. So it's something to keep an eye on. After surgery, the chances are actually a little bit higher. I was doing some research that you may have hypoglycemia after gastric bypass. And that's something that they really recommend you keep an eye on, because there is a difference between hypoglycemia and late stage dumping. And so far, this has happened 3 or 4 times to me now. I think I can connect it back to eating sugar, eating something sweet, like a real sugar thing. It usually is happening to me at night, so it's connected to me eating something sweet after dinner. And I've done that a couple of times now, where I've eaten something, like a few bites of something normal, not a sugar-free snack or something. And even though I am only eating a few bites of it, I'm thinking that's what's causing it occasionally. And it's not every time either. So as long as I'm being really careful, then I think it can be managed. If it's something that you can manage easily, it's not really a problem. But if it's something where you are triggering it, and then, you know, you're eating something sweet and then it's triggering again, and you get yourself into this cycle, it can be something that you might want to talk to your doctor about. So I'm probably going to do a bigger video on that, just because it's something that I didn't really realize until it started happening to me. But I did want to just say that that's something new that I've been experiencing that I haven't dealt with before. For me, what I've been doing, I read it's good to have something with like about 15 grams of carbs or something in it to help knock you out of it. And I have these like little fruit leathers, like 12 to 15 grams of carbs in them. And it's basically just dried fruit, but it is natural sugar for the most part, and about the carb level that I was reading might be helpful. So I've just been trying to eat one of those when that happens. So I'm not like sitting here eating candy or something, and I don't keep juice in the house, so I can't just have like a small glass of juice or something. So far that's been working, and I haven't had anything like that happen in a couple of weeks now. So I think as long as I am managing and watching what I'm doing and what I'm eating, I think that is something that it's just a late stage dumping episode, and I need to just make sure that I'm not eating sweets. The further away from surgery I get, the more sweets I can eat, and I am noticing that I am being a little bit more lenient when it comes to what I'm eating that's sweet, because it doesn't really upset me in the same way. But if I remember that late stage dumping exists, and just because I'm not having an immediate dumping episode does not mean that that thing won't, you know, upset me later on down the line. I think it'll help keep me in line and help keep me from turning to sweets like I did before surgery. It's something to keep in mind. I've said multiple times, and I'll continue to say, surgery doesn't fix your brain. And so the further away from surgery I get, and the easier it is for me to eat sweets, the more my brain kind of wants to go back to old habits. And so I have to stay vigilant with that. And I have to remember that that's something that can come back, and an old habit that I really don't want to pick back up. Okay, so let's talk about the non-scale victories. Let's talk about the awesome things that happen, and they are mostly going to be involving the vacation that I took. We went to Hawaii, and it was amazing. First of all, it was the first trip that we've taken in a couple of years because of the state of the world, so it was really needed. The break was really needed. I talked a little bit in my last update about how I was feeling floppy these days, and I just feel a little bit more like I crossed that threshold, and that loose skin is just making me feel a little bit floppier than I did before. And I really pushed that to the limit on this trip, because it was a beach vacation, and I really wanted to just live my life without worrying about what I look like, without worrying about being in a swimsuit, without worrying about anything, because the chances are people are not looking at me and making any sort of judgments. Everybody's just there to enjoy themselves on the beach. Nobody really cares what anyone's wearing. And not only that, the swimsuit that I was wearing was pretty flattering in my opinion, and I looked good in. So it's not like, you know, I'm running around in anything that is even borderline, what are you wearing? But that being said, I could wear whatever I want. I could have gone out there in a bikini if I really wanted and just let it all hang out. But there's that line between, you know, wearing what you want and wearing what you're comfortable in. I really felt a few times like I've earned being able to wear this and feeling confident in it. And so I hung around in my swimsuit without really worrying about anything and just running around, you know, in public, not really caring. One of the big things is that I am getting more and more self-conscious about my arms. They are, you know, hanging quite a bit. They make wearing shorter sleeves a little bit more frustrating, but I didn't want that to affect me in any way. I wanted to still wear spaghetti straps and tank tops and things without just like letting my arms dictate what kind of thing I wore in a hot environment. And so I did. And I do have a couple of pictures and I do have a couple of things where I'm just like, oh, you know, I don't feel like I look the way I want to look in that. But I'm trying to look past that and look at the, you know, the experience that that picture is showing and the confidence behind it. Ultimately, I had a lot of confidence on this trip, and I wore all those things out in public anyway and felt like I was owning it. I find that I can get myself to be confident enough to wear something out in public, but then later I look back on it and I'm like, should I have done that? And that's the weird part, is like, yeah, you rocked it. You were fine. I've been super embarrassed about a video clip that my fiance took, but I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to put it out there for you guys to try to battle this feeling of, you know, not being confident. One night I wore my crop top and I was feeling really good, and I also had a couple of drinks, so I was feeling really happy, and I was just running around and dancing and singing with my mom. And you know, he showed me this clip, and at first I was just like, oh yeah, that was such a fun night. And then I started, you know, really looking at myself and, you know, the floppiness sticking out of my crop top. And, you know, I started feeling a little bit self-conscious about that clip existing, and I'm trying to, you know, walk it back. No, that's not the headspace I want to be in. I want to remember how confident I did feel in that crop top. I want to remember how much fun I was having and not let, you know, those kinds of things define what I wear and how I feel. And who cares if I'm a little floppy? I mean, ultimately, I think it's pretty obvious if you look at me that the reason I'm floppy is because I've lost a lot of weight. And in that case, how can anyone sit and judge me for the way that I look? And nobody would. I think anybody who would look and see my floppy skin would be like, wow, she must have lost a lot of weight. And that's probably the extent of, you know, any thoughts about me. When it comes to that, I mean, I've earned that floppiness. I've earned the ability to go out and feel comfortable. And I want to be careful with how I say that, because I do want to acknowledge that prior to losing weight, I could go out in a crop top if I wanted to. And that's why I mentioned before, there's this fine line between feeling comfortable in what you're wearing and, you know, wearing whatever you want. I fundamentally believe anyone can wear whatever they want. It's nobody's business. And if you feel confident and comfortable in it, then rock it. I didn't before surgery. And that's why I say I feel like I've earned it now, because I feel like I'm comfortable wearing those things now. So I have put in the work and I've earned being able to now be comfortable doing it. So I do want to acknowledge that's the reason I'm using the language that I am, but I fundamentally believe anybody can wear whatever they want and whatever makes them feel confident. It just wasn't me before surgery. I hid in my clothes a lot, and that's kind of another non-scale victory that happened, is that not only was I wearing, you know, these tank tops and things while I was out on vacation, I bought clothes multiple times on vacation. Did I need more clothes? Not really, no. But I could not get over the fact that I could walk into a store, find something I liked, and buy it. And it just felt so amazing. We walked into this small little boutique because my fiance was looking for a Hawaiian shirt to wear to dinner, and he hadn't bought one yet. So we walked into this boutique, and you know, they only went up to an XL, but I was able to find dresses and try them on, and they looked awesome and they fit. And I was like, wow, I can just walk into the store and actually buy something. So we ended up walking out in matching clothes. I found a dress, and he had a shirt that matched. So we did that twice on the vacation. 3 times. We did that 3 times on the vacation. But every time he found a shirt that he liked and I found a dress that I liked and they matched, we just couldn't help it. We kept buying them. It felt so good to be able to just like walk into a place and buy something. I have never really been able to do that. I have always had to find stores like Lane Bryant or Torrid, find a plus size store in order to buy something that I consider cute. And I've just never really been able to walk into a store and be like, you know what, I'm going to try this on, and if it fits, I'm going to walk out. One of the things that we bought on this trip, they only had in a large. And she was like, you know, our larges run a little bit big. You should try it on anyway, because I think it might fit you. And I tried it on and it fit. And I was just like, I just bought a dress in a large. And I just couldn't get over it. I was so ecstatic, and I can't explain to you what that feels like if you have never experienced that, because I've been so heavy my whole life. There are some things that are completely normal that don't feel normal to me, and that's one of them. It does not feel normal to just walk into a store, try something on, and buy it, because that's not something I've really experienced in my life. So I kept doing it, and I have like quite a few Hawaiian print dresses now that I'm like, when am I gonna wear these? Maybe if it gets hot enough this summer, I'll wear something. Hey, if we ever go to a hot environment again, I am set. Another thing that happened on this vacation is that we went horseback riding. I was just so excited to go horseback riding. I love riding horses. I love horses, but I haven't done it in like 20 years. And the last time I went to Hawaii about 11 years ago, I was too heavy to ride horses, and they were very nice about it, but they did have to tell me and my friend that you know, we weren't going to be able to go on the horseback ride, and we ended up doing a really awesome 4-wheeling ride instead, and it ended up being really fun, and we didn't miss out on stuff. But you know, it still hurt to be told that I was too heavy to get on the horse. And so when my mom said that she was thinking about going horseback riding on this trip, I was ecstatic, because the weight limit was 240. I'm nowhere near that anymore. Like, I don't even have to think twice about whether or not I can get on a horse. And that felt so cool. And so when I got on that horse, and when I was riding around, aside from the fact that it hurt my butt because I have no padding anymore, it just felt so cool to be able to go horseback riding without a second thought as to whether or not I'm too heavy for the horse. And it was just an experience that, again, it's not like this crazy, amazing, you know, I mean, I guess maybe for some people, but I've been horseback riding before, so it's not like this crazy new thing for me. But the fact that I literally could not have that in my life because I was too heavy, and now it's a possibility to me, is just mind-blowing. And losing weight has opened so many doors for me that, you know, I wouldn't necessarily have thought of. Never once would I have thought to go horseback riding on this trip unless I had lost the weight, because it's just something that was unattainable for me before. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about was just the sheer fact that I had a normal vacation. I talked a little bit about it in the video where I talked about what I ate on vacation and how you can eat out after surgery. But I kind of wanted to re-emphasize that I had a normal vacation experience. That was a huge accomplishment, because I was wondering myself, what is vacationing going to be like? Prior to surgery, my fiance and I would go on vacations, and food was a huge part of our vacations. Where we were going to eat, what kind of food we were going to eat, having the experience in all these different places of eating different kinds of food. That was a huge, huge part of our vacation. When we went to Europe, we splurged and we went to a couple of really nice restaurants. Is that even something I'm going to be able to do post-surgery with such a small tummy? And the answer is yes. The answer is you can have a normal vacation. It just has to be done a little bit different than before. And so, as I mentioned in that video, I shared a lot of food with people because I just can't eat a full portion by myself. So sharing with people, being able to take the leftovers and eat off of those, that was a huge ability for me to be able to go to these restaurants, be able to do normal things, eat normal food, and have the same experience as everybody. But I kind of just did it a little different. I shared with somebody, or I got an appetizer instead of an entree, and I made it work for me. The other part of this trip, though, was that I also found that I can drink. I can drink adult beverages. I have drank since surgery. I definitely have. So it's not like I didn't know that I could do that. But like drinks and appetizers are a pretty common thing if you're going out and celebrating or something. And I hadn't really done that before. And I did find that I can actually partake in drinks, appetizers, and dinner. Again, I just have to be very, very careful about it. I didn't really participate. Woo! You are getting in the way. And when I did have appetizers, I focused on just having a bite or two so that I could taste what it was, but I wasn't focusing on eating the appetizers. I mean, yes, that took up space in my stomach, but I didn't want to fill up on appetizers before food came. So it was really about being able to taste and experience those things, but not eat too much of them. And since the recommendation has always been to not eat and drink at the same time, and I personally do find that it makes me feel kind of sick if I drink after eating something, I found that I could order a drink or two, have those before the food came out. It hits me pretty fast these days, so I was having a really good time, and then I would just really enjoy the food when it came out. But I could do all those things. I just have to know what works for me. And so we would go out, I would have a drink, I would feel really great, and that drink would hit me fast. Then the food would come out, and I would eat my small portion of food, and I'd take the rest home, and I had a very normal experience, and I still got to have, you know, drinks and food with the family while I was out on vacation. So I just wanted to emphasize that life can go back to normal. It's just not the same normal that I had before surgery, but it is still normal. I just have to look at it a little different. And that was huge. It really made me realize that nothing's really out of reach for me. I can 100% go on a normal vacation. My fiance and I will be able to enjoy our honeymoon, and I don't have to feel like I'm missing out on, you know, a big portion of being a foodie and just enjoying, you know, new foods at different places. I can still do that. I just have to do it a little bit different. Oh, I forgot one of my most important non-scale victories, you guys. It's so silly, but when my fiance proposed, we immediately were talking about how we probably would need to go get the ring resized. And I took it out of the box and I put it right on. Like, it fit. He said it was a size 7, and no way in hell was that ever gonna fit me before I lost weight. So the fact that he was able to just go out and buy me a ring and then it fit on me perfectly was just so, I can't even describe to you how excited I was to be able to walk away wearing this ring immediately. The fact that I was able to wear it right away and I've been able to just wear it every day since he proposed has just made me feel really good. And that was probably one of my most exciting non-scale victories from this trip. Okay, well, I am going to go make myself some coffee and get started with my day. My cat is just going to continue to be extremely needy if I sit here, so I'm gonna go get on with the rest of my day. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope it was helpful. I hope that you continue to enjoy these post-op, you know, post 1 year updates, because I still feel like I'm changing a lot, and there's a lot of things that I'm learning with this process. So I will continue to share. I cannot tell you how grateful I am for everybody who watches my videos and who subscribes and supports my channel. So stay happy and healthy. Make sure you're always keeping track of the big picture, and I will see you guys in the next one next week.